Okay, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystems.com, and this is our Thursday. The actual date is November the 3rd, I believe. Thursday, November the 3rd chart lesson, and I'm going to jump right into it today. I'm still trying to make these things shorter, and it's amazing how fast time gets away. So I'm not going to mess around. I'm going to get right into it. I'm showing you the big picture here. I wanted to show you how we found our first trend bar. We kind of got it off that first swing. You actually had a shorter term trend line going up through there, and then you did have a break, and then if you look, you see you had two legs, but you still had a trend line right here as well, and so I drew it that way. But let me show you this first one. There's your original trend line right there. I just want to make sure people understand how these trend line rules work and how accurate they normally are. But you got a break here. Then you had one leg up right there. You had a pullback, and then you had a second leg up. It overshot a little bit, but it's still a trend line break and two legs to a new high. And but this was valid right here once you got that, and that's where what you would have seen by the time we got here at our regular session open, which was right in this area right here. And as you can see, we broke that trend line. We came back and we tested it, and then we turned down. And right in here is where we opened. So we got a setup right here at the open. It wasn't a great setup, but it was a setup all the same. I'm going to show it because it is a second entry short, and it did get you short at a pretty good spot. But as you can see, we made a new low right here. Prices pulled back. We made a first entry down. There's the break below that bar. There's your first entry. Prices pulled back with that bar, and right off the EMA again, we turned down again, and we got a second entry on the break below that bar right there. So that's a second entry short. Your entry price would have been 46 3/4, and prices went all the way to 44 1/4. Easy scalp out of that. No runners because prices did pull back and take out the runners. But we got another entry right here, and this is another second entry short, and this one was a little bit better entry. And on this entry, your entry point was 44.75, and well, they likely got your stops on this one as well. It seemed like I survived this, but maybe I didn't. I'll have to go back and check later. But anyway, you got a two-legged pullback right here. Here's your new low, so the count zero. Your first leg back, then a leg down, and then your second leg back. You can't see that we broke lower, but if you went to a smaller time frame here, you would clearly see that. But regardless, even if you didn't see the two-legged pullback to the EMA or the trend line, you still had a reversal off the trend line. Look. This trend line has been validated. We've had 1, 2, 3 turns off of it, and then look, 4, and we turn right off of it again. That's a nice reversal bar. So going short right there below that makes your entry at 44.75. Prices went all the way to 43 1/4 before they kind of stalled a little bit and then sold off again. And as you can see, we've got yet another second entry short here. Here's your new low. There's your pullback, your first entry down, and the pullback, which made a little double top, and then a second entry down. So you could have went short right here as well. And this time, the entry's at 43. This time your runners would have been good, and they would have been good all the way to 30 1/2. And at the very least, if you'd have exited on any of these touches, you would have got anywhere from 3 to, how many points is that? 45 down to about 30. So that, that's anywhere from 5 to 15 points there. And there wasn't much of a pullback in there. So those were some pretty nice setups. Prices actually broke lower out of the trend channel. Here, actually, I just got this line by cloning this line and dropping it down to the low side. And as you can see, it definitely kind of held prices. Then we got a failed break, or we got the break lower. That usually is where you're going to see the reversal. We overshot it. We got a second entry long right there. You could have gone long right there as well on that second entry. But I don't like counter trend trading, especially in a trend that's a trend that's falling that fast. So it was questionable all through here. You could have actually taken this short right here, but again, it wasn't a great setup. So I didn't mark it, and then it got too choppy right through here from about 9 o'clock to about 9:30. It was just too choppy, and so I didn't mark any setups there. We finally did get a pretty nice setup here. We got this little congestion area or a little small trading range with all these bars, and we broke out right here. We tried to go higher once, we turned back down, and then we tried to go higher twice. So that is a second, it's actually a second entry long when it broke above this bar right here, but that's a kind of a bearish bar, so we waited till we at least got a trend bar in our direction. And we also had 2 tries to go lower. See that bar right there? Prices came down. We had the pullback. Prices came down again. So we tested this little double bottom area twice here, and I didn't draw my line, so it may not be as easy to see. But if you draw a line across there, there's a clear little double bottom with a few stems sticking below, and you could actually get a perfect double bottom right here. But I like to draw them where the stems are normally. And if you see that, we actually had a little break lower there. So, and then we turned up. So that likely trapped shorts. So you could have even gone long right there, but we were still, I still wasn't convinced that the uptrend had started yet. So I didn't mark that trade. But when we tried to go lower there, second time it turned up, you could have gone long right here. That would have got you long at 39.50, and this went all the way to basically 46. So that's about a 6-point move. Any runners would have been easily safe if you held on to them. Even if you held all through this 2-legged pullback right here, you still would have had your runner, believe it or not, would have survived by a single point. So I probably wouldn't have held on that long. I wouldn't have taken that big a risk, giving all that money back, all those points. But if you did, you entered at 39.50 and prices went all the way to 56.50. So it was a pretty nice move there. We actually had an entry here. I don't know why. I think I didn't mark this one simply because there were too many overlapping bars by the time it triggered well. And we were coming off the high side of what I thought was the trading range. Well, it did turn out to be the trading range. We just overshot it. We were coming off, so I really thought we were going to make it back to the trend line here. So I was waiting on that, so I missed this trade. I will show you this, though. Maybe you can see this 2-legged move. There's the first leg, then a pullback, and then basically a second leg. And the second leg actually had 2 legs in it. So it looks kind of like a 3-legged correction, but it's really just a 2-legged pullback. So that would have been another reason to be thinking long there, but it's just not a great setup, and it would have been risky. So I didn't mark it. And actually, I normally wouldn't even talk about this short right here, but I like this short. I've been always talking about these trades off the top of the trend channel line, so I thought I would talk about it. As you can see, what happened was we had a double top here. And this is right at this trend channel line, which has actually been holding prices. And then you can see when prices got above it, how it was holding again until it got back inside. So that shows you that line is definitely valid right there because we're getting tests on both sides of it, and they're holding. And so when we tested it again, it made this double top, especially once we made this little, see this couple of ticks higher here. That's where a lot of your I don't want to call them dumb traders because they're not dumb. They just don't know any better. And they don't understand that buying high on a double top is not a smart move. They think that's the right place to get long, to enter the market because they figure if it breaks here, it's probably going higher. Well, it probably is going higher, but it's not going to go higher yet without them trapping out a lot of people and trapping in a lot of people. And so when that broke higher above that double top and turned down, you had a nice little, it looks kind of like a doji, but it closed so close to the low. And then the next bar definitely closed right there on that low. So that's kind of a breakout reversal type bar. And going short below that was a good move. And so you place your order right there at 46.50. And we were already out on that first bar that dropped straight down, and they probably would have come right back and got your runner. So, but usually when you take these counter trend trades, that's all you want to do is try to scalp a point or two and get out and call it a move and wait for the better entry off the low side down here. Now, once again, look what we've got here. We've got leg one, pull back, leg two. And let's just measure this just to see how close it looks. There's your first leg, then you got your pullback, and look at there. There's your second leg. It's almost a perfect move. We made another little double bottom here. Can you see that double bottom across there? Those matching lows, and it's right at the trend line here. And prices broke lower and then reversed, and so we probably trapped some shorts right here on trying to get short off that low area, and they just probably got trapped, and then prices reversed. Our entry would have been 45, and this went to 46.75. So another easy scalp. No runners off this one, but that was a first entry. So your second entry would have been right over here when prices actually touched that trend line, and you could have entered right here. They tried to scare people out. It hesitated a little bit, but as you can see, it did move on higher. And if you'd have taken this entry, you would have been in at actually you would have gone above that bar, 45, and this one went all the way to 48. So that's a 3-point move. You could have got all of that before prices pulled back again. It's real choppy through here. It's not a strong trend yet. It didn't really get strong till it finally got another good test of this trend line, and then it took off. So this is really just a trading range. Put that on there so it's easier to see. But anyway, your next entry was over here, and this was a great setup because again, we just got a double. We kind of got this strong support area over here, and look how we tested it twice here. This was a break below the trend line. Wasn't much of one, but we tried to go lower there twice and reversed. So going long above that bar right at the trend line, that's a second entry long. Here's your pullback. There's your first entry. Then you got the little move down to the low side right there that failed and turned up. I guarantee you shorts got trapped right here, and because look how that blasted out of there. That's a sure sign that a lot of people got short off this high and off right here, and most of them probably had their stops right in here in case it backed up. They didn't want to give back that profit, or they didn't want to take a loss, depending on where they actually got short at coming off this little high right here. So, but anyway, your entry point would have been 45 and a quarter right here above this bar. And again, you see the first entry, pull back, and the second entry, and 45 and a quarter. You could have rode this one all the way to the top. Any runners were easily saved, 45 and a quarter, and you definitely probably should have exited off that double top. And that's 56 and a quarter basically. So 45 is an easy 10 points at the very least. Even if you exited off this high, it was probably 3 or 4 points there. That's a great entry, and that's the kind. Most of your best entries are going to be off these lines, and so you got to learn to find these trend lines and these trend channels because that's where most of your greatest entries are going to be. This is a two-legged pullback to the EMA. If you look, we had a new high here. Prices moved down. Then they turned back up, and they broke higher right there by one tick. I don't know if you can see that. Let me get out of here where you can see that a little easier. Prices broke up by one tick, pulled back, and then this was the second entry long here. And this is really just another two-legged pullback to the EMA. It's really there were two legs right there and then two legs right there. And so the entry point was 12.51 and a quarter, and prices rocketed up once again all the way to 57 almost. So another 4 points right there, another great entry. Again, look what would have happened if you would have taken this trade. I actually took this trade. I didn't mark it because I didn't want to mark all these, talk about all these counter trend trades. But as you can see, you could have entered below that bar right there, and that was a nice, easy trade. Again, I did take that trade, and that was my last trade of the day. But I didn't mark it for that reason. But here's the last trade I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to wrap this thing up. We got another two-legged move back to the trend line. There's leg one, then you had your pullback, and then there's leg two. And you can see it was about a measured move. They did break below this double bottom right here and trap some shorts. And so that's another reason. That's a trap right there that definitely trapped shorts. And you could have even went long above this doji right here. But it's always best to wait on a trend bar in our direction. So this looks better to go long above. So we would have gone long at 52.75, and prices went all the way to 56.75 almost. So that's about 4 points before there was any pullback, and that's where I didn't record any more of this today because I was already done trading. But I did want to show that entry there because it was coming right off that trend line. It's a nice reversal. It was two legs back, leg one, leg two, and even within leg two there was one leg, two legs. So remember to watch for these double legs. Remember to watch these trend lines and to trade off of those trend lines and these trend channel lines. Once you find one line, clone it or copy it and carry it up to the other side and drop it in there so that you know where prices are likely to reverse. But I'm trying to keep these short, so I'm going to wrap this up for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystems.com, and this is a wrap-up of Thursday's chart lesson. Thanks for listening.